What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone, where we're going to talk about Antonio Conte still being a possibility for Juve, surpassing potentially Thiago Motta coming in. That's what it's floating out there right now because his talks with Napoli are like a roller coaster. One day it's on, then it's off. A week later it's back on, and 2 weeks later it's back off, and now it's back on again. But the conclusion of a lot of these journalists is basically that he's still waiting for Juve, and there has been meetings, and I know media's brushing it aside in terms of, oh, he just met with Ferrero and Giuntoli and all those guys for coffee, and I'm like, it could be, but I doubt it. Why? And that's not me saying Antonio Conte is coming, but why would they just meet for a cup of coffee? In the current situation we're in for a coach. He's looking for a team. It's a bit iffy, and Romeo Grisi spoke about it. So that's what we're gonna talk about in this video. Before we do that, like the video as always, subscribe to the channel, and let's go. Okay, so like I said, Antonio Conte still a possibility. A lot of news outlets are suggesting that he's waiting for the club. There have been talks, apparently not about joining Juve, which I strongly disbelieve. Excuse me, because if they met, surely that came up. Let's be real out here. But Antonio Conte, Romeo Gresi said, or he started off by saying that I don't know anything. I don't have any news on that. So it's possible that the club is completely not interested in Antonio Conte, or it's going under the radar completely. And that made me think, because even though I think we're not in for Antonio Conte, the Felipe Anderson story kind of should tell us that everything is possible. Everything is literally possible. You cannot say 100% is going to Thiago Motta, 0% is it's going to be Antonio Conte. So you cannot really say that, because that Felipe Anderson news told us, learned us that it is possible. Like it's among the possibilities that could happen. That could actually happen. So we need to take it very seriously, if we're being completely honest, that if nothing is set in stone, it's not a set in stone. Now, do I think the club wants to go in that direction, Antonio Conte? No. That's purely based on what we have been told by the media or club watchers, saying that Giuntoli wants something new. He wants something young. He wants something he can build with, grow with, because of purely based on the squad we're trying to build, the money we have available, all these things. He's saying it based on that. I want that, because it's not about winning now, because I don't think anyone was expecting us to win now this season. I don't think anyone is expecting us to win next season. It's all about, it needs to be built from the ground up. It needs to be clean, it needs to be sustainable, and it needs to be a winning formula in a short time, where you're like, okay, we weeded out certain players, we plugged in some holes, we brought in some players, we want them to be starters in the next 2-3 years, like bona fide starters. We plug some holes here and there to bridge a gap. Next season, we start building on that, and so on, so on. But you cannot build on what we have right now. Like, that's really plugging holes all over the place. You need to have a solid base. That's what the clubs want to do, excuse me. And you can do that with Antonio Conte. However, we've been linked with young players, maybe unexperienced players, some older players on a free, but we're not really being linked with Antonio Conte players. And with Antonio Conte players, I mean players, not all of them, but a lot of them where you're like, huh? Him? Really? We've not been linked with those type of players. We've only been linked with Zirkzee, Calafiori, Coat Miners, Gudmundsson. And yes, Antonio Conte can work with them. However, they're all linked to, or a lot of them are linked to Thiago Motta, So we are going off links right now. And again, maybe the Felipe Anderson should make us think twice and say, hold on. It seems very easy. It seems very straightforward. Oh, it's going to be Motta. It's going to be Calafiori. It's going to be Zirkzee. We're going to sign Coat Miners, and we're going to do this. Like, it all sounds too easy, especially at this moment in time. It sounds way too easy. It sounds like something is up. It sounds like this kind of sounds fake and not really 100% real. That's the feeling I have personally right now. I'm not gonna lie. That's the feeling I have right now, and we need to take that into consideration. That the club can say, "Hey, it's not gonna Thiago. It's not gonna be Thiago Motta. It's gonna be Antonio Conte because Antonio Conte would be jumping. Like if Juntuli picks up the phone tonight at 4 a.m. in the morning and he calls up Antonio Conte and he wakes up and he tells Antonio Conte, you can be the coach, but you need to be here in 30 minutes to sign that contract. Antonio Conte will be there in 10 minutes to sign that contract because that's what he's waiting. Like he is willing to come back. He's eager. There's not a single journalist out there who will claim the other thing basically. If the club calls him, he joins 100% certain. Like 1,000% certain he will join. Now, if that was the case, like if the club really wanted Antonio Conte, I personally have a feeling, even though you can work under the radar, it will be out there. It will be out there. And he wouldn't be talking to Napoli. It would make no sense. You know, it would make absolutely no sense. So that's why I'm like, I don't think it's going to be the case. I don't think it's going to be Antonio Conte. Personally, I don't think he's a bad coach, by the way. He's a top coach in my opinion. But I've always said, I want something new. Like, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I see why people want Antonio Conte. Based on what we have, based on the mindset this team has, it makes a lot of sense for Antonio Conte to build it up again. Like, I get that part 100%. And for me, it's not even about, oh, we need to play better football. We need to play sustainable football. I've said it many times. It doesn't need to be tiki-taka. When people talk about beautiful football, I'm like, it needs to be sustainable. If we are a counter-attacking team or a high-press team, win it off the pitch, and we go from there, whatever it takes to win. But what we have been doing now is not sustainable. No matter the quality, it's just not sustainable to win. Like, it's just not. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So that's my case. It needs to be sustainable. Antonio Conte, he can build something sustainable. We know that for a fact. Like, we actually know that for a fact, you know. So I do get why people are invested in bringing Antonio Conte, but I would be a hypocrite to change my mind. I always said I want something new. I don't want something old back, and that's gonna be the same. I'm gonna have the same opinion right now. So I don't want something old. I want something new, and something new is potentially Thiago Motta. I still like Palladino as a first choice at Palladino Italiano, but we're not being linked with him. But I think it's very obvious. The only thing that's certain right now, or should be certain, is we're going to change coach. It's only up to Giuntoli to make that decision. But Antonio Conte, he's out there and he's waiting for that job. 1,000% certain. So let's see what will happen. You know, the season could be ended for us next Wednesday. Actually, today, Thursday, a week from now, we could have beaten Sanitana, and whatever happens in the Coppa Italia, our season is over. So let's see. We will know very shortly. But let me know in the comments what do you think about Antonio Conte or Thiago Motta or another coach, and we'll go from there.